Good afternoon. Welcome back to Baton Rouge, the Baton Rouge Regional for the Women's NCAA Tournament. We continue with our LSU press conference. Head coach Kim Mulkey joining us as LSU advances with the win over Jackson State. They'll face Ohio State Monday night, 7 o'clock Central Time here at the Maravich Assembly Center. We just heard from Faustina Fua and Ryan Payne. Coach Mulkey has said she'll pass on opening comments and just open it up for questions here on the floor with the roving mic. If you have questions online, please raise your hand and we will get to you. And with that, the floor is yours to ask Coach Mulkey.
Hi, Kim. Was that game last night a rise up in level of physicality from the regular season? And, I mean, did you see it that way?
No, I didn't. I saw just tremendous athleticism, kids that could leap out of the gym. That one girl went up and held onto the rim with two hands. Athleticism, just quickness, kids shooting unbelievable from the three that haven't done it all year. But I wouldn't say it was any more physical.
I don't think we heard you talk too much last night about going to using the zone, which again we know you don't use very much, and pressing, which y'all hadn't done much all year. You just talk about just trying to do the things you had to do to pull the game out. And do you think any of those things worked particularly well or made a huge difference, or do you think it was just kind of like we got to try something?
Well, I read what you said or wrote, and I heard what the coach said, but I really didn't go to a 2-3 zone, so I don't know what y'all saw. I went to a 3-2 zone, and they hit a shot in the baseline one time, and that's the only time I ran it. The press, you always have to prepare for situations in the game. We were in I don't want to use the word desperate, but we had to change the pace. Time was running out. And so you go to a press and you just try to create momentum your way. So it was a press, but doesn't mean anything to you, where we're one face, we're man-to-man denying the ball, or we can go to the zone press. That was just more of trying to get back in the ball game late. It wasn't like we're going to, change who we are, but we have to be prepared. But I only did a 3-2 that one time, and they hit that 3 right there in front of Faustine.
Coach, what was your evaluation of Alexis, and how important was just conditioning? Is that the biggest thing after all these weeks, is getting her out there and getting her used to running up and down the floor again?
I think I gave her a little bit of tried to make it comfortable for her. When you're up, what were we up, 17, do I need to play her more? Do I not? Do I save her for Monday? She's ready to play. And, she hit all those free throws for us, so that was good. She's clear to play, and I think the game will dictate when she goes in and how much she plays. I don't know about – she's such a athlete. I don't know if conditioning will hurt her, because in the span of the weeks that she's been away, she's conditioning without putting, pressure on that MCL. It's not basketball conditioning, but yet it is a form of conditioning in rehab.
What do you see in Ohio State?
Oh, outstanding team. Guys, they were co-champs of their conference with Iowa. Am I correct? And they got a 6 seed. Iowa got what? A 2 seed. So the only thing I think that separates them is the net. It had to be net is all I can figure, and that Iowa went on and won the tournament. So if you're champions of any league, you're pretty dang good. And their 2 guards are as good as anybody in the country on the 3-ball. Meixel, I think she's 3rd in the country on made threes. She gets it off so quick. She's played in 3 programs now, and at each program they allowed her to, have the freedom to shoot it. And when you're that old and you've been around a while, you're very comfortable, you're very mature. But they have people around them that play their role and do what they do best. And so it's a very, very challenging team for us to play. Their 2-2-1 press, created a lot of trouble for Missouri State yesterday. I thought it was a good game, and then their press was really effective against Missouri State.
Did you say you guys have struggled on the closeouts?
I think this game is so good now. If you're talking about one-on-one defending dribble penetration, I think people have trouble defending us as well. I think Kayla Pointer can get by anybody. When you're a talented basketball player, it's almost impossible to stop one-on-one dribble penetration. So you're going to have tremendous help side defense. You're going to have to do some things because, they've got some players that can dribble penetrate. Jackson State had players that could dribble penetrate. We know Ohio State averages 8 threes a game. Well, we thought Jackson State only averaged 4, and they hit 8 last night. So we're prepared for the 3. We know how good they are. We just got out of the film room. We watched them in person yesterday. So it's going to be a tremendous challenge for us. It's March Madness. I think both teams are talented, and it's going to be a fun day because I know the LSU people will show up, and they're appreciative of the effort we put in yesterday and what the LSU team has done this year.
Coach, you talked about them being a great shooting team, but they seem to be very strong defensively, forcing 22 turnovers yesterday. Kind of what do you expect?
Well, that's their 2-2-1. I thought that the front of their 2-2-1 created a lot of problems. They would try to beat it on dribble penetration, and they would trap and turn it over. And they stay with their 2-2-1. It's not just something that they do out of desperation. It's something that they've committed to. I've seen them do it out of missed free throws. So they're committed to it. And, it's a defense that you don't see a lot of people do on the women's side much. You usually see full court man-to-man pressing, but they're committed to that 2-2-1, and they also do a 1-2-1-1, trapping you in the corners, and then they drop back to man, and then I've seen a little 3-2 and a little 2-3 zone. You can't reinvent the wheel. There's only so many defenses you can do. They're not going to change who they are. We're not going to change who we are, and it's going to be fun.
Coach, I guess the overriding theme is you're trying to make it to the Sweet 16, but this, without a doubt, will be your final home game for those seniors that you honored before the Alabama game. What does that mean in the context of this game?
Haven't talked to the seniors about that. I'm sure it goes through their mind that that'll be the last game tomorrow that they'll ever play here, but I haven't discussed it with them. We've just been in the film room working. And win or lose, it'll be emotional for them. I know it has to be. I mean, you're human, and to think that. But you don't let that become the focus. The focus is Ohio State.
I would assume you think $20 is a good bargain to see these two teams play?
I think it's pretty cheap. They ought to raise the price, if you ask me.
Kim, how did you feel your team handled the enormity of the game yesterday, the first NCAA tournament game a lot of them played in? And then what does that mean going forward?
I thought they handled the game fine. I thought when it got tight and we got behind, I didn't feel like it was because it was an NCAA tournament game. I just felt like it was a Jackson State team that got on a roll and played good, and we had to fight back. I don't think it had anything whatsoever to do with the NCAA playoffs. I really don't.
Kim, you coaches like yourself and athletes like Tiger Woods or Serena Williams, they make the winning look easy sometimes. But you hear coaches talk a lot about, as you said yesterday, this is a big deal. They hadn't played in an NCAA tournament game. LSU hadn't won an NCAA tournament game in 8 years. Could you just speak to that? How difficult it is to win, and what an accomplishment it is for them to win and to win at this level.
Well, I'm going to back it up even more, Scott. How could you criticize anything that was done on that floor yesterday? I don't care if we're a 3 seed. Think about where this senior group has been. They won 9 basketball games last year. And for them to get to the NCAA tournament is special. To finish second in our league is more special. And being a host is the most special time. It's just, I said it and I say it all the time. Make sure if somebody beats you that they just played unbelievable. Would you say Jackson State played maybe their best game of the year? If we would have lost, I would have had to go in that locker room and hug their neck and thank them. And it wouldn't have been a case of, man, we had too many turnovers or we missed too many shots. It was just a case of nobody wanted to lose. And that's the way I view this whole season, this whole playoff. Ohio State wasn't even in the playoffs last year, right? Sanctions, right? Self-imposed sanctions. You think those kids aren't excited to be playing? That's why this basketball and March Madness, to all the people who love other sports, this is fun. You have Cinderellas. You have players you've never heard of that may have the best game of their life during March Madness. It's just a fun time for sports fans to click on a TV and just see some fun things. You see colleges and cheerleaders and bands and mascots and everybody just enjoying themselves. And it doesn't get any better than March Madness. It doesn't.
I know Coach Maneri would talk about in 2009, the first game against Southern was like the toughest game or one of the toughest games they played. As a coach that's been on multiple runs deep in tournaments, can that first game in many ways be the toughest that you play?
Sometimes it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be tougher every step of the way. But sometimes it's just the excitement. Sometimes it's just, for some teams, it's nerves. Sometimes it's just a good matchup. I don't know that we're going to play any different than we did yesterday. I don't know that Ohio State is. I mean, that was a close game. It's just everybody's trying to survive and advance. And the superior, most talented teams in those first rounds are literally, blowing people out. But then they're not. And you see that on both the men's side and the women's side. You saw on the men's side people getting beat that got extremely high seeds, and you see it on the women's side now. I tend to think that's parity. I think that's parity. And it's going to be fun to watch these today and on television, and it's going to be fun to watch them tomorrow and see what happens. This team is playing to get to a Sweet 16. Now think about that for a minute. Where did it start? Months ago. And here I am still looking at y'all. Think about that. How fun is that? As ugly as I am sometimes and as funny as I am, I can't sing a lick, but I like to sing. We're still singing. Not dancing, we're still singing, right?
Iowa played more last night than she had since the Vanderbilt game. Just talk about, she didn't have a tremendous stat line, but she gave you some great minutes. And with how she played, and also, do you expect Newbie to bounce back and have a better game?
Absolutely. It was the ability to jump and get up and rebound. And Autumn's more of a, I don't want to say finesse, but she's not going to beat you with athleticism. And I think they were just coming out, and so Iowa could get in there and get up a little bit. And I just felt like she got us an offensive rebound here and there. She could bang with them, she could jump with them, she could do some of those things that's not Autumn's game. And Autumn, she's so valuable to us. And so Ohio State presents a different type of team than Jackson State.
About them, just looking at their stats, they have 9 that play 10 minutes or more, 8 that play 15 or more. Does that make your scout more challenging, or do they kind of all do the same thing, just different?
Well, we go over everybody that potentially could play. Look at all of them that shoot threes, too. Got a lot of threes being shot by that team. It's not just the 2 guards. So we have to be very detailed in a short period of time, and we were today. On tendencies, I'm familiar with one of their players. She played at Oklahoma State. And so in our league back in the Big 12 when I was there, very familiar with her. Mikesell, I know, watching her play at Maryland and Oregon State, and some of the younger ones I'm not as familiar with until I started doing scouting reports on Ohio State.
Coach, congratulations again last night. Thank you for your time, and good luck tomorrow night.
Thank you.
We
You
appreciate
guys
it.
have a good one.
We
All
appreciate
right?
it, Coach.
Thank y'all.
We'll be back at 2:15 for Ohio State's press conference. Until then, a copy of this will be posted on the NCAA Media Hub. That's ncaa.veritone.com. And a transcript provided by ASAP will be presented shortly. Again, 2:15 Central Time. We'll be back with Ohio State. Until then, thanks for joining us.